Hi YouTube fam. I am so excited to share with you one of my most favorite books in the whole world. I first read this book over 10 years ago. My little sister gave it to me, and each time I read the book I find a different I figure out a different level of myself, you know? I understand myself at a deeper level. This book has been so life-changing. Prior to reading the book, I'll be honest, I did not have a backbone. I attempted to set boundaries, but they were easily broken. I was wishy-washy, indecisive. My yes did not mean yes, and my no did not mean no. I could be convinced pretty easily to change my mind. Since reading the book and just practicing and becoming more aware of myself and my surroundings and how I want to exist in this world, my boundaries are much firmer. I'm much clearer about myself and how I want to grow and how I want to interact with people. I'm clearer about my expectations and what I want in my life and what I don't want in my life. You know, so essentially I consider myself a grown A woman. But that's through time, that's through excavation, and that's through great reads that one can grow. So I'm going to share with you a few quotes from the book, the ones that really touched me. Now in the introduction is going to be more letting you know what's to come. So the introduction, you know, is pretty much setting the tone for how the book will be. So let me get started off with portions of the introduction that I want to share. All right, so this is the introduction. For me, it starts on page 3. And I'm sorry, I've skipped ahead. This book is called Women Who Run with Wolves and is by Clarissa Estes. Hopefully I pronounced her name right. Again, Who Run with Wolves. When I first got this book, I was wondering what my sister was suggesting. I'm like, I don't date bad boys. I don't date dogs. So I had a misread of it, you know, and after reading the book, I realized, wow, this is deep, you know. I hadn't seen wolves as so powerful, so instinctual, you know. I think I was just fearing them. And I think that same thing goes with women. Like when you meet a woman who just seems firmly rooted and who speaks with clarity, authority, assertion, that same fear can sometimes be present. But there's something beautiful and inspirational about spending quality time with someone who knows who the H they are. You know, so now I look for those type of women to be in my circle. So the first portion that I want to share from, this is page 3, the introduction, and it's titled Singing Over the Bones. Even the way she titled this is so poetic. You know, obviously bones implies that there was once a life there. There was a living being there, and now it's no longer there. And by singing over it, you're still honoring its time, its contribution. And I'm very touched by that. So the first portion that I want to read, it says, wildlife and the wild women are both endangered species. Over time, we have seen the feminine instinctive nature looted, driven back and overbuilt. For long periods, it has been mismangled like the wildlife in the wild lands. For several thousands of years, as soon and as often as we turn our backs, it is relegated to the poorest land in the psyche. The spiritual lands of wild women have throughout history been plundered or burnt, dens bulldozed, and natural cycles forced into unnatural rhythms to please others. I certainly had that problem. And I think a woman who doesn't set boundaries has that problem. You know, I remember being engaged one time and this fellow was easily angered, but I knew what would calm him down. And so I played, I hate saying played those games, but I played that part to keep him calm. So here I was metamorphosing as he needed me to, however, he wasn't changing as I needed him to. It is not by accident that the pristine wilderness of our planet disappears as the understanding of our own inner wild natures fades. It is not so difficult to comprehend why old forests and old women are viewed as not very important resources. It is not such a mystery. It is not so coincidental that wolves and coyotes, bears and wildish women have similar reputations. They all share related instinctual archetypes, and as such, both are erroneously reputed to be ingracious, holy, and innately dangerous and ravenous. And so I spoke of this a moment ago. The way people portray wolves is that they should be feared. The way that powerful women are portrayed is that we should be intimidated by them. But I feel like this portion is saying the opposite. They have a knowing. And so when you think of the elders, you think they are the ones who can help you to get to the next level. They're the ones who are going to help deepen your understanding. This book is so meaty, so meaty. So now I'm on page 6. It says fairy tales, myths, and stories provide understanding which sharpen our sight so that we can pick out and pick up the path left by the wildish nature. So in fairy tales, myths, and stories, that's where we're going to get our understandings. That's where our sight, our knowing is going to be sharpened. Through these fairy tales, myths, and stories. The instruction found in story reassures us that the path has not run out, but still leads women deeper and more deeply still into their own knowing. So if you are a woman pursuing a deeper knowing of yourself, then you're going to read this book, read it again, and read it again. And I promise you, each time you're going to know yourself at a much deeper level if you give it a chance. It goes on to say, the tracks which we all are following are those of the wild woman archetype. The innate, instinctual self. So there's a part of us that knows right from wrong. But what I believe is sometimes what happens, or I know what happened for me, as a child, there were things I knew or could sense about other people. but the relatives or adults who were around me, they didn't behave as if they understood what I knew. So then I began to question what I felt I knew. You know, just thinking back, you know, having someone tell you, hug an uncle, when your body just cringed at just hearing their voice. So a child has a knowing. They know who not to trust, but sometimes the parent will insist that they trust. Or, all right. Now I'm on page 8. It says, so the word wild here is not used in its modern pejorative sense, meaning out of control, but it is in its original sense, which means to live a natural life. So the word wild here is not used in its modern pejorative sense, meaning out of control, but in its original sense, which means to live a natural life, one in which the creature has innate integrity and healthy boundaries. These words, wild and women, cause women to remember who they are and what they are about. They create a metaphor to describe the force which funds all females. They personify a force that women cannot live without. This part right here, it sets the tone for the story. We know that through listening and reading the folk tales, the myths in here, that we are going to get a deep understanding of who we are. We're going to be able to develop healthy boundaries, and we're going to live a more natural life. Let me go on to page 9. The comprehension of this wild woman nature is not a religion, but a practice. It is a psychology in its truest sense, soulology or logos, a knowing of the soul. Without her, women are without ears to hear her soul talk or to register the chiming of their own inner rhythms. Without her, women's inner eyes are closed by some shadowy hand, and large parts of their days are spent in semi-paralyzing ennui, or else wishful thinking. I think of that as escapism. Without her, again, we are referring to Wild Woman. Without her, women lose the sureness of their soul footing. Without her, they forget why they are here. They hold on when they would best hold out. Without her, they take too much or too little or nothing at all. Without her, they are silent when they are in fact on fire. The wild woman is their regulator. She is their heart. The same as a human heart regulates the physical body. When we lose touch with the instinctive psyche, we live in a semi-destroyed state. And images and powers that are natural to the feminine are not allowed full development. When a woman is cut away from her basic source, she is sanitized, and her instincts and natural life cycles are lost, subsumed by the culture or by the intellect or the ego, one's own or those belonging to others. this is quite sobering. Essentially, what I'm getting from it is you just become a mini version of yourself, or a mini version of someone else. You are certainly not who you are meant to be, because that's not the energy you're living within. You know? Because if you're not full and you're not whole, you are someone else. Or you live in a dwarfed life. You're living a fractional life. Whew. In the introduction, there's a few more passages I want to share. Now I'm on page 11. It says, what are some of the feeling tone symptoms of a disrupted relationship with the wildish force in the psyche? To feel, think, or act in any of the following ways is to have partially severed or lost entirely the relationship with the deep instinctual psyche. Using woman's language exclusively, these are feeling extraordinarily dry, fatigued, frail, depressed, confused, gagged, muzzled, unaroused, feeling frightened, halt, or weak. Without inspiration, without animation, without soulfulness, without meaning, shame-bearing, chronically fuming, volatile, stuck, uncreative, compressed, crazed, feeling powerless, chronically doubtful, shaky, blocked, unable to follow through, giving one's creative life over to others, life sapping choices in mates. So choosing somebody who's not feeding you, but who is only taking away from you. Overprotective of self, inert, uncertain, faltering, an inability to pace oneself or set limits. Whew, this was me. Not insistent on one's own tempo, but to be self-conscious, to be away from one's own God, to be separated from one's revivification, drawn far into domesticity, intellectualism, work, or inertia, because that is the safest place for one who has lost her instincts. Page 12. The wild woman carries the bundles for healing. She carries everything a woman needs to be and know. She carries the medicine for all things. She carries stories and dreams and words and songs and signs and symbols. She is both vehicle and destination. To join the instinctual nature does not mean to come undone. Change everything from left to right, from black to white, to move to east, to west, to act crazy or out of control. It does not mean to lose one's primary socializations or to become less human. It means quite the opposite. The wild nature has a vast integrity to it. It means to establish territory, to find one's pack, to be in one's body with certainty and pride, regardless of the body's gifts and limitations, to speak and act in one's behalf, to be aware, alert, to draw on the innate feminine powers of intuition and sensing, to come into one's cycles, to find what one belongs to rise with dignity, to retain as much consciousness as we can. Whew. This is what I love about this book. It's answering questions you might not have even known you had, but that you know you need to answer. So I'm going to end with page 21. This is a book of women's stories, held out as markers along the path. They are for you to read, contemplate, and follow towards your own natural one freedom. You're caring for yourself, animals, earth, children, sisters, lovers, and men. I'll tell you right now, the doors to the world of the wild woman are few but precious. If you have a deep scar, that is a door. If you have an old story, that is a door. If you love the sky and the water so much you almost can't bear it, that is a door. If you yearn for a deeper life, a full life, a sane life, that is a door. So join me as I read through Women Who Run with Wolves, as I share with you the passages that have touched me, moved me, changed me. I hope to see you soon. If you have not already subscribed, subscribe now. I promise you I will be posting a minimum of 3 days a week. Those days being Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Hopefully I will post every day. And so on that, I need you to press the notifications, because we will be getting through this Women Who Run with Wolves, and we should all be at a deeper level by the time we are finished. The plan is every few pages, hey, let's do a live. Let's talk to each other. So if enough comments are out saying you want to do a live conversation, we just have to decide on the time. If it's during the week, you know, from 4 to 5, or is it on Saturday? But let's do this together. Let's help each other to grow. I look forward to you growing, and I'm sure you look forward to my growth. Thank you so much for coming to my channel, and I look forward to exchanging just these wonderful spiritual moments again with you soon. Bye. This was Priscilla.